Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
So for the message today, and I'm really tired, so who knows what's going to come out. I chose this title, Revelation and Evolution, Becoming Who We're Meant to Be. Partly because I knew that I could probably give this talk in my sleep, because this is so much a part of the way I understand reality and life and spirit, identity, who I am, individuality. And partly because I don't know if there's another message that is closer to what I hope to impart to you. What I was trying to share with the kids earlier is that we're never going to stop growing. If we stop growing, we've dropped something. We've missed the opportunity. And so no matter how good your life is, it can get better. The experience of freedom and fulfillment that you now have, even if it's like off the hook, it could be better, more, deeper, stronger. And if you're in a tough spot, if you're grappling with something that is taking all of your energy to help you get through this life, the promise is for you that freedom and fulfillment await you on this journey. Every difficult, awful thing that has come about in my life has turned out to be an invitation into the freedom and fulfillment of God. So I haven't even conferred with my notes, and all that was serious, just right here. We may be here for an hour. We're not going to be here for an hour. But this is so in me. I want to talk about this a little bit. But as we know, Randall Brailsford, who is one of our amazing volunteers and counselors here, and he's one of the co-leaders of the Sunday School with Adults. He knew I was going to be busy this weekend. He asked me if I needed any errands run. I said, yeah, can you write my sermon? And he said, well, I could probably get 3 points in a poem, but the joke is on you. So here's the joke. 35-year-old man reflecting on getting older. I remember 35. And he was just noticing how his life has changed and just kind of looking back in his life. And he said, I remember being a kid and watching my dad fix the family car and thinking, I wonder if I'll ever do that. And now here I am watching my dad fix my car. So there are two parts of this message, the revelation and the evolution, but really it's the same thing. It's just a different lens of the way of looking at it. I want to begin with Ernest Holmes quote, and this is on the first page of his primary work, The Science of Mind. He says this, the divine plan is one of freedom. The inherent nature of man is ever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom, because freedom is the birthright of every living soul. I know. Joanne, you and I are on the same wavelength this morning. I see you. Everything is calling you to your freedom. Many of you know that recovery and addiction is a big part of my story too. This horrible thing that occurred in my life that I was trapped, I couldn't get out of. I didn't know if I would survive, ended up being an invitation and a doorway into spiritual freedom. Everything is like that. Because who you are is an expression of the divine. That is your nature, created in the image and the likeness. And if we only truly knew and could embody that truth, we would be free, free, free. We would live this life in complete freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom to express our deepest truth. That's the way it's meant to be. And I don't know about you, but I'm not fully there yet. That I continue to be on this journey. So in one sense, our growth is not adding anything to us. We are already created as perfection, wholeness, and completion. That's who we are. But instead, it's to reveal it. To find out what's standing in the way of that truth, of our authentic brilliance, and let that go. That's why that song means so much to me too, because I release. I remember that your love is always here, always here. Use all of me, God. That's Emerson had this wonderful quote. He said, if I can just remove my bloated nothingness. Does anybody else have any bloated nothingness going on? And I remember a guy in 12-step meeting said, I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. That's that egoic mind that just fixates and ruminates and it just makes everything about us, but it's not the true us. It's about our fears. It's about our smallness. And who we truly are as a son or a daughter of God, as an expression of absolute light and creativity, whatever language you want to call it, that's who we truly are. And we can catch glimpses. And we can work with those glimpses to actually create practices and maybe even a minute or two where we live it fully at a time. And over time, we become more and more free to be who God has already created us to be. But the second part of that is there is an evolution at work. We have 3 values that we have here at Unity of Houston, being, becoming, and belonging. And our becoming statement is really what this says, that through grace and through practice, we heal and grow, revealing the Christ within. That's what this work is. And it is work. I'm sorry if you thought this was going to be, you punch your ticket and you're enlightened. You need to keep church shopping, because we're not that church. We're about practice. That we know the truth, we teach the truth, we do our best to live the truth, but it is a practice. We practice prayer and meditation. We practice sacred service. We practice authentic, healthy communication in relationships. All of these things are a practice. And if you've gotten it perfect, you can go start your own church, because none of us have here. All of us here at Unity of Houston are still working on this, still seeking to let go of those old patterns and limited beliefs and false identities that were usually ingrained in childhood. We come from, I don't know about your family, but I can tell you about mine. And as we learn in therapy, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. That we come with these, not your mother, David. Hi, Lena. We love you. We're so bad. Your mother is perfect. There she is. She's rocking, your mom. She is great. So our evolution is to grow, to learn, to add these practices into our life and release all that stands in the way. So to greater and greater degrees, we can experience the freedom of God. And there is something about getting older. I don't know about hitting 40. It was like, I don't care quite as much about what people think. In the 50s, it was like, who cares? And I see you all in your 60s and 70s and 80s. You all look free to me. That's where I want to get to. That place of just letting ourselves be who we are as of this date, knowing that we are continuing to do our work, we're continuing to grow. And we want to expand, We want to be more of who we are. Here's some ancient wisdom of our New Thought teaching that comes from 1 Chronicles. This was very popular a few years ago. Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me. Keep me from the evil one." And God granted his request. That prayer of Jabez, to expand my territory, that the light and the power of God be with me. Now, the evil one, we don't speak about an incarnate devil here in Unity, but we sure know about the ego, the separating consciousness that each of us carries. And one of my 12-step meetings I used to go to, we'd say the Lord's Prayer, but it was deliver me from ego. It was the way we'd say that instead of deliver me from evil. Because that ego is the part of us that wants to separate us. Poor me, it's the victim, it's the overlord. And who we are, the true humility of a spiritual being is that we're just right-sized. I'm not the worst, I'm not the best, I am me, fully. That's true humility. So what do we do? How do we grow? So there's so many metaphors here, but I want to use the Let's use the education model, shall we? Many spiritual teachers talk about coming to earth school. And yes, they even teach that you did choose those parents. And you chose that experience. So why? So that you could learn the lessons of your soul's becoming. So that you could learn the lessons of the freedom that you're called to be by contrast of that which is not your freedom. Now I like it. It's a metaphor. It's just a metaphor. But I like the idea that sometimes I think we choose the path, but the curriculum is not what we thought. Have you noticed that? Like, this was the plan. I made a plan. I'm learning these things. And then, here's my relationship stuff again. There may be a pattern here. Who is the common denominator in this pattern? It's me again. And so I began to practice. I urge you to take full advantage of all of the wonderful self-healing and growth and expansion opportunities we have in this time. Brene Brown, God bless your heart. The level of self-understanding, the books, the podcast, the therapists, we have many, many in this church, the 12-step programs, the classes of our metaphysics here at Unity, there are so many things available to us, but that's actually not the curriculum. The curriculum is to identify where we have fallen into a false belief and let it go. All of our work is letting that go and standing in the faith that we are already created in that image and likeness. So, some of the classes you will take here are electives and some are mandatory. Required. I don't know what that is for you. It usually comes back to love in some form or another, which will always require some forgiveness. And what I'm finding, the more I'm in this work, most of it is right here. To forgive myself, to offer compassion to myself right where I am. And here's the secret. That feels kind of like egoic, right? Self-centeredness, selfishness, but it's actually not. This is bringing kindness to the self in all of its human wonder and delight. It frees us. And when we are compassionate with ourselves, we are able to be more compassionate with each other. I don't know how it works that way, but it does, trust me. Jesus said it, that when we're in judgment out here, guess who is really being judged? Judge not lest you be judged. And in the same measure, and I would substitute the word consciousness there. The same consciousness you are judging others, it is being judged back to you by you. And I love the next phrase in that teaching from Jesus of Nazareth says, why do you bother trying to take the speck out of your brother's eye when you have a timber in your own? Now, I thought about this years ago. When you have a timber in your eye, some big piece of wood that shouldn't be there, guess what it is when you're looking at others? You're seeing wood. Timber. You're seeing fault. You're seeing the thing that shouldn't be there everywhere. So to clear our vision, what we've been talking about, it's releasing that which is not true of you. And that judgment, that criticism, that non-compassionate speech that you hear all the time towards yourself and others, that's not really you. And as Jesus told us, remove it. For me, when a master teacher says that something like that, first, remove the timber, the log, the board from your own eye. That means that it must be possible. And we're back to practice. We're getting to freedom. That's where we're all going here. Another beautiful spiritual story from the ancients that it's actually now become the basis of something called liberation theology, the story of the enslaved Israelites in Egypt. And their leader who called them forth said, Pharaoh, let my people go, oh Moses. And so that story, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but it's a beautiful framework, a beautiful mythology, a beautiful metaphor for each of us on our journey to freedom. That song that Gary wrote that Boris sang before our meditation, this is my path that I have chosen. I come home. The promised land is within us. That when we make a bold claim for our freedom. I want to tell you a story on myself, and I've told it before, so if you have heard it, just laugh like you haven't. I finished ministerial school in 2009, and I got hired to go be an associate minister and music minister at Center for Spiritual Living in Reno, Nevada. I'd been there many times as a guest artist and speaker and loved that community. And it was it happened pretty quickly. I had to move out of my house in Dallas, get my stuff on a truck, get out there, and just whirlwind, right? And then I got a place to stay. I'm there. My very first Sunday at my new community. So I had, in all of that stress and doingness of moving, I had kind of let my healthy eating go by the wayside and just been eating a lot of junk. And I just made a declaration. Once I got to Reno, no more sugar. I'm done. I declared my stand for freedom. I'm taking it like, Pharaoh, you don't own me. I'm moving out. At the end of my first Sunday at my new community, there's all these hugs. I knew some people, I'm meeting people. I don't even know how it happened, but someone handed me a big pink box. And I'm just still hugging, and then I'm just left here kind of out of all the flurry. And it's like, what is this? I open it. It is a giant pink Homer Simpson donut. It was actually a cake decorated to look like a giant donut. And I'm like, didn't I just declare no more sugar? How funny, universe, to give me, like, what is the biggest epitome of junk food? A giant Homer Simpson donut. So I don't think I ate all of it. But I was talking about it with the other associate minister there at CSL Reno. And I was like, isn't that hilarious? I made this declaration for freedom from sugar, and then somebody hands me this. And she said, well, that's just the Egyptians coming after you. I said, say more about this Egyptians coming after you business. I want to know what you're talking about. She said, well, if you remember in the story, they left bondage after the plagues, lots of plagues. Pharaoh said, go, you can go. And they're walking out from Egypt out into, they didn't know the 40 years of wandering and then wilderness yet, but we're earlier in the story. And they're moving towards freedom, moving towards the promised land, coming to where their rightful home is. And they come to the Red Sea. And there's dust kicked up in the background. The horses, the chariots, the riders are coming. Pharaoh changed his mind, realized he had a good free labor source, and he was going to bring them back. And so there were the children of Israel at the banks of the Red Sea on this side, can't go forward. The Egyptians coming to take them back into bondage. And that was me and my donut. And me many, many times in my path. Keith Green used to have a song, so you say you want to go back to Egypt. We've all been there. We've made a declaration for our freedom, and it looks like there's no way forward. Well, at least we got fed in Egypt. Maybe it wasn't so bad in that relationship that was so dysfunctional. Maybe that old job, I don't know what it is, but really it's about a pattern of thinking, a pattern of belief that we go, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. At least it's a rut, but I know it. I used to say I'm such a rut dweller, if I get in one, I hang up curtains. I like routine. I like familiar, right? Well, some of these old patterns are familiar and comfortable, but they are bondage. Make no mistake. And so this may be happening for you right now. Maybe you have made a declaration for your freedom and you can feel the pull back to an old way of being. They used to say in AA that there's nothing worse than a head full of AA and a belly full of beer. Once you've tasted freedom, you go back, it's not as comfortable anymore. And you remember what happened in the story next. Moses, who represents that connection of the human to divine mind, raises his staff and the sea parts, and a way was made where there was no way. The metaphysics of this are inescapable for us, my friends. Your freedom that you're being called to, the way will be made, even if you can't see it. And it will come through you. Sometimes it comes through making some really big mistakes. Not that one, that's not the way. Don't be afraid. Because here's the thing. This incredible gift of choice that we've been given, it's always there. You chose incorrectly, you tried something that didn't work, choose again. Choose again. And if that doesn't work, choose again. And what I've found, the more healing that I have done, the more free I am, the more willing I am to be compassionate and accepting of myself, my chooser's gotten a little bit better. I have a better sense of what is actually my intuitive voice calling to me to move forward. Not perfect, but I'm beginning to feel the pattern a little bit better, to make higher and wiser, more loving choices. And here's the last part. The journey is the destination. There isn't some, land of milk and honey that's where everything is perfect, you don't have any more problems, or you have the perfect partner. That doesn't exist. But the promised land is when we just choose freedom every day and recognize that this is my freedom. This is my promised land. Does that mean that we give up and we stay right here? No. We keep moving forward. And whatever the thing is that's like, I need this, I need a better career, I need to work on my finances, all that, great, do it. But that's not the promised land. That's just the next class in your earth school. And you get that handled, and then the next thing will show up. I should probably go back and look at my notes now. I think there were other important things I wanted to say. So when we're at that place between the Red Sea and the chariots, the amygdala in our brain wants to go to freeze, flight, or fight, but there is another F. How about faith? We could go to faith. And sometimes our faith isn't that dramatic. My teacher, Petra, she used to say, sometimes you just stand there with your nose against the wall, keep doing what's in front of you to do. And she said, and you watch. If you just stay engaged, stay awake, stay connected, hold to your faith, one day you'll be on the other side of that wall and you have no idea how it happened. This has been true for me again and again. Stay the course. Sustained, diligent effort on our spiritual journey is not sexy and it doesn't sell many books. But it is a powerful tool in your arsenal. Stay. Don't quit. Keep going to therapy. Keep attending those stupid meetings. Keep working those dumb steps. Keep coming to Unity even though the preacher looked really tired and wasn't giving a very good message that day. Just keep at it. You're worth it. You're worth it. Rumi, wonderful Sufi poet, says this: the breezes at dawn have secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. I want to close. That was going to be the end of my sermon today, but the shooting yesterday in Buffalo has really hurt me. And if you're not aware of it, a young 18-year-old man with a white supremacist agenda went into a black neighborhood in a grocery store and killed 10 people and live streamed it. So what I want to bring us to the awareness is that not only are we individually growing and revealing the truth of us, but humanity is in the same process. And there are so many times when something like this occurs, I want to give up on humanity. I want to go back to that blame game. But I learned long ago, we're never going to blame ourselves out of any of our problems. And so what I'm going to ask all of you to do is join with me in the high consciousness of healing of this horrible sin called racism. I'm going to ask you to join me in consciousness right now this morning to know that we are better than this as a species, as a people, that there is a higher place calling to us. Sheila McKeithen, I think I mentioned her last week. She'll be here speaking this summer too. And we did this event with Unity Online in 2020. And it was how we bring our 5 principles to the problems of our world. It was right after George Floyd's murder. And I don't remember which principle Sheila was speaking on, but she spoke directly to this. She said, white supremacy cannot last because it's a lie. Only the truth is eternal. And it gave me such hope. It gave me such hope because if I'm just looking at what's going on there, it looks sometimes like the darkness is winning. And I'm here to encourage you, as she encouraged me, that that cannot be true. Only the truth is eternal. And this idea that by merely the color of our skin, someone is superior is a lie, and we know this. So I want to extend in this prayer compassion and healing for the community and the family. But mostly the families affected, but I want us to join in raising the consciousness of humanity as us today. Will you do that with me? Will you join me with me? So right now I invite you to turn within. And we remember the deepest truth is there is only one life, one power, one presence, one infinite good. That is Spirit, that is God, that is infinite creative expression. There is nothing else. It has been known by many names, but there is only one power and one presence. Perfect, good, whole. And this one expresses its nature in infinite forms. But all forms contain the essence of God, the essence of good. And so that includes me, and that includes you, that includes everyone within the sound of my voice. We have the seed of God's light and power and creativity within us right here, right now. And this seed is asking for greater knowledge and expression, for us to embody the truth of wholeness and freedom more. And so we do, right here, right now. We are one with God. And so the creative word we speak comes from that place of infinite power and infinite grace. And so I speak my word. I speak my word over this whole situation where young men and women are being taught a lie that anyone could be superior to another one based upon some false notion of race, color, or religion, or creed, or any difference at all. For what we know in this moment, and what I now proclaim, is that each of us carries this Christ seed within, and we see it. We commit to seeing it in each other. And the energy of this knowing expands us, and it expands between us, that we create a wave of healing on this planet and in humanity right now. That we are a part of the awakening of humanity to this lie, and we let it go, we release it. And we rise in the truth of love, that we are all in this together. We are all expressions of God, all brothers, sisters in God's love. And so whatever is for us to do, to be, to say, to express it in greater and greater expression, we say, yes, God. We are willing to speak up, to emanate this truth and this love. And for all who have experienced the pain of racism, of white supremacy, let us know healing and comfort, particularly for those families. Let us hold them in the eternal love of God. And those souls who have departed are our teachers today. And we are to be reminded of what is calling us higher. And so we bless the whole experience of our healing, personally, collectively. And we trust you, God, will show us, guide us, speak to us, carry us forward until the day when we are all free. And we stand in gratitude that we know that this day is real. This day is here in consciousness right now. And we await its perfect demonstration. We let it be, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. That's powerful. If no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. There is something that wants to happen in your life. It only awaits your yes. And if you're not strong enough to find that yes, let us collectively be your yes. We see who you are. We are your yes. God bless you.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.